Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. No matter what year it is, people will always be looking for ways to make money in OSRS. And thankfully this channel is full of videos like that. We have talked about AFK money making, the best moneymaker per skill, and one of my favorites, 175 money making methods ranging from free to play with zero requirements, up to the most demanding activities in this game. In today's video, I will give you the ultimate guide on how to make money in old school RuneScape in 2024, with some of the best methods at each stage of your account. Scapers were aiming for 100k subscribers by the end of the year for me to go skydiving, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. For more tips and tricks, join our Discord with a link in the description. This video will work as follows. We have 5 categories of money making, starting with free to play. We don't have a lot to work with, so I will cover the early, mid, and late game. After that, we will jump onto members, and I will tell you 6 of my favorite money-making methods for the early, mid, late, and finally the end game. The 6 methods for each category will be 2 for scaling, 2 for monsters, and 2 for bosses. I will include some of the new methods we haven't seen before, but unless new money-making content comes out in 2024, this will most likely be the last one for now. Boys and girls, let's get right into it. If you are absolutely new to the game in the strange realm of free-to-play, you can't go wrong with pie shells. To make the most of it, go to the Grand Exchange and buy pots of flour, buckets of water, and pie dishes. Use the flour on the water to make pastry dough, and when you use said dough on the pie dish, you will create pie shells for people to make pies. Additionally, you can just buy pastry dough on the Grand Exchange to skip the first step, which will bring slightly less profit. For the next one, we need the magic level required for Teleport of a Rock, and to make it a little faster but less profitable, grab a few energy potions. Head to the Varrock sewers and follow the path you see on screen. This will take you to a spawn of red spider eggs, so grab all of them in the area and hop to a different world. When your inventory is full, bank at the east of a rock bank, and do this until you hit your target goal for possibly a better moneymaker. Something I personally did back in RuneScape 2 was turning gold bars into gold amulets, and it's still quite effective in old school RuneScape to this day. Grab yourself an amulet mold from the crafting store or the Grand Exchange along with gold bars, and go to the Edgeville furnace to turn them into gold amulets. When done, go to the nearby bank and resupply. The reason why this is always profitable is that a ton of people use gold ore to train, making gold bars dirt cheap, and the amulets are used for string jewelry for magic training. A riskier method that will yield a little bit more profit involves going to the wilderness to grab steel plate bodies and high-alking them for profit. Take a fire staff and as many nature runes as you're comfortable with, to hop until you run out of them and have to resupply. This is not as dangerous because free-to-play PKing is one of the saddest things in the entire game, but even with blue wizard robes and entangle, you might be in a bad spot, so make sure to bank every now and then. If you are looking for the endgame money-making method in free-to-play that involves combat and regular monsters, sadly, it doesn't get any better than Ogre's Shamans. Their good drops for our free-to-play brothers and sisters mainly consists of runes, gems, and a few runed items. One of the few good things about this place is that if you attack melee ones with ranged, you will be safe spotted, which avoids the need to bring food, which means you can stay here pretty much indefinitely. And of course, this wouldn't be a money-making method without mentioning Bryophyta, which has a chance to drop the most expensive item free-to-play players can obtain, which is the Bryophyta's Essence. By killing moss giants in the Varrock sewers, for example, they may drop a mossy key which is required to fight the boss itself. At a drop rate of 1 in 118, and the essence being just about 9 million GP as of the time of making this video, this drop will put you extremely close to that sweet bond to unlock member world for 14 days. And speaking of members, we are jumping onto the early game money making for pay to play, starting with one of the newest ones. Thank God I made this video after the most recent forestry patch, because one of the items that was kept was the forester's ration. You can combine leaves with a respective cooked food to obtain this item, and the materials to create it will always fluctuate, so watch out with how many you buy. These will always be needed for the Felling Axe passive effect. A training method that will be extremely slow or extremely click intensive for more experience and the GP per hour is simply cleaning herbs. Because of how the Herbler skill works, clean herbs will always be more expensive than grimy ones, because people simply want to train ASAP. Whether you let your character automatically clean a full inventory every few ticks, or you want early carpal tunnel, buy any amount of grimy herb, clean them, and sell them for profit. We are taking a page out of the free-to-play methods, but we are stepping it up a bit. If you want more money through the crafting skill, add gems to gold bracelets. Your AFK time will literally be cut in half, but will lead to more profit per hour, and XP will depend on which gem you use. Part of the reason why this is profitable is because of their alch value, as looking at the effects for most of these bracelets, well, they would make for a pretty good OSRS trivia question. We are going to stay at the Edgeville Furnace, but we will swap gold bars for steel bars. After completion of the Dwarf Cannon quest, you can make cannon bolts with an ammo mold. The smithing level requirement is pretty low, but with a few more levels you could do a little bit of the Giant's Foundry and get yourself the double ammo mold. This will of course nearly double the experience and profit per hour, but just like gem bracelets, your AFK time will be cut in half, so make sure to choose wisely. Getting into combat, one moneymaker that has remained consistent for over a decade is slaying Kaoz druids, more specifically because they drop grimy herbs. I know it doesn't sound like a lot for many of you, but even at a decently low level, Kaoz druids won't be damaging you for much to make some decent profit for your first set of rune armor or even a dragon weapon. There's also a small chance a low-level Slayer Master assigns these as a task, so you can double dip on the gains. Another one that will be pretty familiar for Ironman is killing Spydeans in the basement of the Tower of Life. To partake in said activity, you must complete a quest with the same name, and you can combine a few items down here to create a few abominations that are begging for you to put them out of their misery. Their Spydeans drop noted red spider eggs, which will always be needed to train with super restore potions, and you don't really need a lot of money to start investing here. We are starting the mid-game with my absolute favorite skill, runecrafting. I'm only adding this method here because for some odd reason, astral runes have been making a comeback on the Grand Exchange. I remember them losing their value after the Alchemical Hydra, and even without 82 runecrafting, this is a decent way to get a good chunk of cash as you train the skill outside Guardians of the Rift. Even if they dip in price again, this is a great method as soon as you finish Lunar Diplomacy. Something you can do manually or AFK is enchanting jewelry of any tier depending on your magic level. For the mid-game, we are going for anything below Dragonstone, and you have some pretty decent profit for a lot of them. This includes opal necklaces, jade amulets, sapphire necklaces, and the topaz bracelets. Watch out for ruby jewelry as not all the final products are super useful, especially the ruby necklace, which turns into the untradeable dig side pendant. We are leveling up in the PVM department, and one good monster you can kill pretty safely is the red dragon. As any Twisted League Giga Chat remembers, the 4th House dungeon is a pretty decent spot to camp them. You only need to avoid the baby version of this monster, and the rocks around you will let you kill them from a distance with ranged or magic. Your trips will be pretty short if you're keeping both the hide and bones, or a little longer if you wish to use the bones on the nearby altar. Call me deranged, but Revenants can be crazy money during the mid-game if you're focusing on the right ones. You should know your way around the caves in case you see a PKer coming for you, but once you get the hang of it, all their drops can be extremely rewarding for the mid-game. This is exponentially amplified if you get one of their uniques being the Revenant weapons or the statuettes. Depending on which one you get, it will be like hitting the lottery for a mid-game player. Your first bossing experience at this stage of your account should definitely be the Barrows Brothers. This encounter is not that difficult anymore thanks to the obscene amount of quality of life the activity has received in the form of spells, items, and plugins, and as long as you don't get direct bombed, you should be pretty safe. The chance of you getting a piece of Barrow's armor goes up with every brother you kill, and if you get lucky, some of them go for a few million GP. The last time we mention wilderness NPCs will be for Calvarion. Jagex recently buffed a lot of wildy bosses, and even though Calvarion, Artio, and Spindle were not included, he is the safest to farm and mechanics are nothing crazy. His uniques are not super expensive outside the Voidwaker blade because of the rampant bonding situation that seems to have been mitigated over the past few months. But if you want the high risk versus high reward method, this is definitely worth a shot. I said wilderness NPCs because we are going to the wildy one final time to open up the late game category. The Rogue's Chest, the training method, was significantly buffed for both experience and GP per hour, and if you want to get the blood pumping when training this skill, there's no better way than this. The biggest reward won't be the profit or the experience you gain per session, but being able to outmaneuver PKers in the castle stairs by logging out quickly after they attack. If you have completed Lunar Diplomacy, the Hard Frenetic Diary, and have level 78 magic, you're able to cast one of the best spells in the entire game for money making. With 10 leather, you can do exactly what the spell says for up to 5 pieces of hide in your inventory. At the time of making this video, Red Dragon Hide is the most profitable, which will almost always default to because it's not like you need different levels for other hides. This is also great experience per hour. Not only are Demonic Gorillas excellent to get you started with gear and prayer switches, but even without their iconic Zenyte drop, GP per hour here is pretty decent, especially because you won't be spending that much per trip, other than prayer potions and food. These maniacs take quite a long time to kill for quote-unquote regular monsters, but their consistent rune drops will always guarantee you leave here with a good chunk of GP, and even more with that orange gem. The absolute opposite of demonic gorillas will be Firewatch Sentinels, available after Sins of the Father in the city of Darkmere. This time around, the average drops will amount to just a few hundred KGP per hour, but your eyes will pop out if you see that expensive blood shard on the ground. Of course, guaranteed you're not AFKing too hard. As I mentioned in the past videos, the great thing about them is that you need virtually zero supplies, as there's an altar near this training spot. Moving on to bossing, another encounter that requires literally zero supply input is the Corrupted Gauntlet. Not only will this make you a much better player if you're able to beat it on command, but even without the enhanced crystal weapon seed, like the wiki suggests for you to meet the expected GP per hour, you will profit a lot from all the regular items. The profit is further increased if you use your crystal shards to make divine potions, which will also profit. It won't be as much profit as a boss that is still one of the most consistent moneymakers in the game, the Money Dragon. I can almost guarantee that Vorkath will always make it into any money-making guide, as profit here is still amazing even after 6 years of being in the game. I have made a dedicated guide on this boss, as it is one of my favorite activities to do with autopilot on, and of course because I was hunting for the pet, and it offers almost 3.5 million GP per hour at max efficiency and stats. Did you watch last week's video on how to escape the late game? Well, we are going back to my favorite skill in the game for arguably one of, if not the most profitable skilling method in the entire game, in the form of Wrath Runes. After Dragon Slayer 2, you're able to use the Wrath Altar for insane GP per hour, and demand will always be fairly high because they are only dropped by Vorkath, Rune Dragons, and the Adamant Dragons. Check out my runecrafting guide for a more detailed explanation. We are moving on to agility, and if you're level 92 along completion of Sins of the Father, you can partake in the Hallowed Sepulchre, which for a while has been the best experience and a profit through this skill. Similar to the Corrupted Gauntlet, this activity will make you a much better player, more specifically when it comes to movement. You will need a few completions for the final floor to get it down to 100%, and when you do, money will start rolling in. Brutal Black Dragons are something you can do prior to the end game, but I have it here because to make it a ton more AFK you will need a few extra requirements, being a Dragon Hunter crossbow, rigor, and decent ranged items. You can also use a Twisted Bow, which is what I do, but if you have one, chances are you probably don't even need this video. Trips here will be super short because even with the powerful Diamond Dragon bolts will tear through their defense, so you can bank in a few minutes and come back for more. This is almost the same case for Rune Dragons. This method is so popular that some people make alt accounts to AFK these after completion of Dragon Slayer 2. I'm not saying you have to turn your main into a Rune Dragon alt, but it's something you can definitely do if you have high stats, just this year, a Dragon Hunter lance, and some supplies per inventory before you need to resupply. I cannot stress this enough, this is some of the best GP per hour while paying barely any attention. One boss that requires literally all of your attention is one of the newest encounters in the game, the Phantom Muspa. After completion of Secrets of the North, you're able to kill the Money Slug for a chunky amount of GP. We place this in the end game because you will for sure need at least one mega weapon, being either a Twisted Bow or a Shadow, because if all you have for this boss is a Bofa and a Trident, I would highly suggest skipping on it so you can make even more cash once you have obtained one of RuneScape's most prestigious weapons. And of course, I cannot upload a money-making video without mentioning the best raid in the game, the Tombs of a Mascot. As an endgame player, I can clear a 425 invocation raid with literally 1% of my brain turned on, and you have a 1 in 10 chance of a purple every raid. If you land the 1 in 24, you will hit the RuneScape lottery and turn into a billionaire in a matter of minutes. Even without a Shadow, some of the Masori pieces, and even a Fang, will be decent payout for the amount of time you need to clear one of these. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the video and possibly my last money-making guide until new content or new methods come out. For now, tell me how you make a ton of money in either free-to-play or the early, mid, late, or endgame. If you include RSN in your comment, you will be entered in our weekly bond giveaway, and I will reply to your comment so we can coordinate the drop on Discord. I want to give a mammoth-sized thank you to all the wonderful people that support this channel monetarily, which all goes towards my starving family in a third world country. If you want to be part of this list of legends, click the join button below, and see all the cool perks you can get for your monetary pledge in the videos, in the live streams, and in the Discord. In the next one, I will actually show you how to beat the Phosani's Nightmare, as we skipped it this week to upload this banger. For now, I hope you have an amazing day, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.